Well, thank you for welcoming me into your space. And before I get going, I always start every talk that I give by saying thank you, because you're giving me your time. The only resource that is not renewable, it's your most valuable thing to give. And by being here and giving your time, I am grateful. And I just want to say thank you, because I get to do what I do because of you. I have things that I want to share with the world. It is my purpose to get up here and share these things so you don't make the mistakes that I've made. But I need people to be in my purpose. Some people are really good at gardening. They don't need anybody else around to be amazing, but I need you. Without you, I'm a genius in my underwear. And as horrible or as beautiful as that sounds, I appreciate all of you for allowing me to be in my purpose in this moment. So, merci. And before I get going, I want to explain to you why I'm even up here, the intent that I have, and the gift that someone gave me, and the gift that I want to share with you. It's a little story about the young, awkward, pimply-faced Daniel. Do you know this word, pimples? I bet in French it's like chauvin. What was it? Acne. Oh, still better, acne. Oh, it's amazing, I have acne. I had acne. It was couleur, I don't know. And I was about 15. Now, I don't know how bad the acne was, but I thought I was ugly. I thought I was not just ugly, but really almost just too ugly to be loved. And for me, I thought that pimples equals no love. I have pimples, no love for me. And it was a sad, horrible realization. It was extra sad when I got to college. I get to college at about I'm 18 years old, and in American college, I don't know how it is here, you're surrounded by all these young girls that are looking to be free and piss off their parents, and I can't gain access to them because I'm too insecure to say anything. So to think that your pimples make you too ugly to talk to a woman, to be me in college was like being a diabetic in one of your chocolate shops. It was a horrible, cruel experience. And I thought, okay, I have pimples, I'm going to die alone. And then one day I saw something that I had never seen before. There was this kid, Derek. And Derek had pimples worse than mine. And I thought, okay, Derek has pimples, I have pimples, we'll both die alone because we're too ugly to be loved. But I saw that Derek had something that I didn't have. Derek had joy. Derek didn't seem to care what anybody thought. Derek kind of floated. And Derek, one day, was holding hands with Pippa Manley. Pippa Manley was the prettiest, nicest, funniest girl in school, and she was with Derek. And I couldn't compute. I didn't understand what was going on because I thought pimples made me unlovable. And the scientist in me, I was a mechanical engineer at the time, I walked up to Pippa and I said, Pippa, what are you doing with Derek? And she said, I don't know. I said, he's got pimples. She says, I know. Well, that makes him ugly and unlovable, duh. Why are you with Derek? And she said, I don't know. I just love Derek. And the idea that I could be me with pimples and be loved, it didn't make sense. And so I ran up to Derek and I said, Derek, what's going on? There's only two options. Either Pippa is a prostitute, which would be a horrible moral to this story, or the other thing I hadn't realized was I was wrong. Has anybody here ever been wrong before? But who here likes to be right? Who here knows they're right? Yeah. Now, statistically, you can't all be right. So somebody here is wrong, right? You're all thinking, yeah, I'm right. They're wrong. I mean, it's just obvious. And I went up to Derek and I said, Derek, how did you do this? He said, what do you mean? I said, you have pimples. I have pimples. We die alone. We're unlovable. He said, what are you talking about? I said, how did you get Pippa? And he said, the words that changed my life, he said, I don't know. I just know I'm a 10 out of 10. I said, say it again. He said, I just know that I am a 10 out of 10. And I said, Derek, you have pimples. Where did you learn that you're a 10 out of 10? And he looked at me and he said the sentence that really changed my life. He looked at me and he said, "Where did you learn you weren't a 10 out of 10? And in that moment, I had a very huge epiphany and breakthrough. Two things. One is, your entire life is different. What you get, what you attract, how you enjoy life, how you go through life is affected by whether you think you're a 10 out of 10 or not. That was the first amazing part, is that I didn't have to live this life of pimply solitude. The other thing is that I learned that I was not a 10 out of 10. And if I learned it, it means I could unlearn it. And it was from that moment on that I had hope and I had clarity that life could be better. So that is the gift Derek gave to me, and that is the gift that I want to give to you. I want to say something tonight that gives you clarity, insight, that you know that if you want something better, it can be better. I want to leave you with clarity and hope. Would you like some clarity and hope? Yes. Anyone feeling a little bit stuck in their life? Oh, you won't admit it. Okay, I understand. So the topic tonight is association. In French, it's so much better. Now, you don't need me to tell you anything to be part of an association. You show up, don't make any mistakes, do your job. You can be part of an association. You know how to do that. You don't need my help for that. And even to lead an association, you're already leaders, you're executives. To be at this level in your game, you already know how to lead groups and teams and associations, so you don't need me for that. What I would like to share with you is the ability to lead an association, whether that's in business or at home, such that you feel good. How many of you have succeeded in many things, but it didn't feel so good when you got there? Yeah. How many of you are so numb from that experience you can't even raise your hand right now? So why is it that sometimes we achieve things, but when we achieve them, we don't feel so good? Now, I'm sure there's many reasons, but the reason I want to bring your awareness to is that when we do things, it feels best, it feels good, it feels nourishing when we are aligned. When we are somehow aligned with what we are doing, when we do something within us and it's lined up, it is resonant with what we're doing, it just feels better. Do you agree? Do you understand? And that's why very wealthy people may not like their job, but then when they go into charity work, they feel more nourished and joyful. They are in alignment with their values. Another thing, that when we get to speak our voice, when we speak up for what we believe in, it feels good. When we get to share our vision with the world, when we put our purpose out into the world, it just feels good. Regardless of what happened, it feels good. And all of that good feeling is really an effect of you just being you. Alignment, speaking up, purpose, dreams, that's all just you being you. It's you being yourself. And you don't need me to tell you the value of being yourself. What I want to ask is, why are we not being ourselves? Why do we not always speak up? Why do we not always follow our dreams? Why are we not always in alignment? What do you think? So I first experienced it, I was about 12 years old, and there was this girl that I liked at camp. And I would do funny things, and she would kind of laugh at my jokes, and I felt really good. I felt comfortable. I felt aligned with me, and she seemed to like what that was. And then about 2 days later, we were hanging out, and all of a sudden, I noticed that I was trying to get something from her. And I instead of naturally being me, I start doing kind of this, and I'm doing that. And she kind of looks at me, and she said, "Daniel, what are you doing?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "This is horrible. Who are you?" I said, "I don't know." "Why are you acting like this?" I said, "I don't know." But the reason I was acting like this, and the reason that I was out of alignment, the reason I wasn't getting what I wanted, the reason I was out of flow, is that I wanted her approval. I wanted her to like me. Now, I know nobody here would ever do something so silly, but just in case, how many people here like it when people like you? Mm-hmm. How many people love the approval? How many people love it when the people, yeah. How many of you, is it fair to say, sometimes you almost need the approval? How many of you would be willing to admit that sometimes you're not fully authentic because you're afraid the approval will be taken away? Why? That's what I want to look at. That's what the scientist in me was curious about. Why did I care so much what this girl thought? Why? It didn't feel good. It didn't get me what I wanted. What was going on? So why do we need that approval? Why? Well, in reality, you don't really want approval. I know it feels that way. You don't want approval. The reason you go for approval is because approval keeps you away from something that you really don't like. So you're going towards approval to stay away from this. Do you know what this thing is, the thing you really don't want? This is rejection. What's the word in French? Oh, that sounds horrible too. God made sure the universe was like, no, let's make that word horrible in multiple languages. Rejection. Do you feel that feeling in your chest? It's got the word "ject," right? Like the fear is injected. Who here is afraid of rejection? Beautiful. Look around and just see yourselves and just know that we're all in this together. Everybody here, no matter how successful, no matter how good our hair looks, most people here are afraid to be rejected. So the scientist in me said, what is rejection? If I'm afraid of it, what is it? So rejection has two components. First component is that there's generally a no in it. Somebody gives you a no. If I walk up to you and I say, I love you, do you love me? And I say, no. Rejection. If I walk up and I say, hey, do you want to be with me forever? No. Hey, this is how I feel. Do you care how I feel? No. So in a rejection, there will be a no. But not all no's are rejection. Because sometimes you get a no and it's no big deal. When you get to the store and the store is closed, the store is saying no. But you don't go, oh God, why? Why? Why did you do this to me, okay? When you get to the gas station, there's no gas. It's saying no. And in fact, to get where you've gotten in this place in your life, you had to push through no's. No's are kind of what make life beautiful. You get to push through the no to get to the yes. So sometimes no's are amazing. Sometimes they're so scary they keep us out of alignment. So what makes a no a super scary no? It's that the no has a meaning on it. We put a meaning on the no, and it's the meaning that's so scary. So what's the meaning that turns a no from a regular old no into a knee-shaking, life-altering, alignment-ruining thing? What is that meaning? So at 9 years old, I had good parents. Logistically, they took care of me, they sent me places, they took care of me logistically. Emotionally, though, my dad never really said good job. It never really felt like he saw me, the person. So I thought, okay, I came up with a solution, which is that I was going to win a big sailing race. He loves sailing, and I thought if I do something that he loves and I excel at it, he'll see it and he'll say good job and I'll know he loves me. So I practice at sailing, I practice. I win the big race at the yacht club, and I remember running up to my dad thinking, this is it, here comes the approval. And I walk up and I say, guess who won? And he looks at me and he says, don't let it interfere with your homework. And I freak out. I think, oh my God, this guy doesn't love me. So I start crying. I think, okay, I'm going to really cry, and he's going to tell me calm down. I'm going to know he loves me, and then that'll be sad. So I start really crying. One of those like super Hollywood Meryl Streep cries with the snot bubble, and you know when kids hyperventilate cry, they're like, why didn't you? So I'm crying, and I look at him again, and I say, why can't you just tell me that you're proud of me? And he says, it's not my job to tell you when I'm proud of you. It's my job to tell you when you mess up. And in that moment, I didn't know why he's acting like this. I didn't know why the love went missing. I didn't know. But I was scared. I wanted to understand why. Why has this love gone missing? I didn't know, so I came up with something just to understand, so I felt like I had some control. I didn't know that it had to do with him. So I said, okay, the reason that the love went missing, the reason the love is gone is, I guess, it's my fault. I didn't know it was his fault. I made it my fault. And in that moment, I told myself the reason that the love went missing was that I'm not enough. I'm just not enough to be loved, and that's why the love went away. Okay, that kind of makes sense, and it was oddly calming to know why the love went missing. The love went missing. The meaning I put on the love went missing is that I am not enough to be loved. That's the meaning that we put on the no, that turns a no from a normal no into a horrible, life-crushing fear of rejection. How many of you here know on some level about this feeling or belief that you're not enough to be loved? Raise your hands. I appreciate your courage. You may not call it not enough to be loved. You may call it low self-esteem. You call it may lacking confidence. You may call it I don't love myself. You'll call it different names, but deep down, all of us, and I believe because I've done this for a very long time, and I've helped a lot of people, most people are walking around with this belief that we're not enough to be loved. Once you have that fear, and it is a scary fear, you can feel it in your body. People who have a big fear of public speaking and you feel your chest tighten and you think you're going to die, nobody has ever died from a bad talk. The reason we're so afraid to talk is because we think we're going to express ourselves, we'll get a no, and we're going to make it mean I'm not enough to be loved. Not enough to be loved is like the mafia. It really grabs your body and scares the crap out of you. And if you're that scared, of course we're not following our dreams. Of course we're not in alignment because we're trying to avoid this horrible, painful feeling. So let me ask you a question. How many of you see that this belief that you're not enough to be loved sometimes keeps you from doing what you really want to do in business? Beautiful. How many of you see that this belief that we're not enough to be loved keeps you from being more honest and authentic in your relationships? Scare you. So just to admit this, remember, this is a painful wound. Generally, it comes from either a parent or someone close to us when we're younger doing something horribly hurtful. We stuff this down. Now, it doesn't work long term. We're seeing the effects of this not enoughness we're not facing. But to feel it, to face it, and then as Pierre said, to actually act on it. Because when we act on it, what we're doing is we're leaving the comfort zone. And if you leave the comfort zone, we think we might run into something that tells us we're not enough to be loved. Think how horribly painful of a thought that is, even if it's subconscious. And I say it to have compassion for yourselves. I know people that I coach, and they'll say, oh, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I do this thing? And I said, you didn't do this thing because you have the software of a very scared 5-year-old who says you're not enough to be loved. It's understandable you would be scared. It's understandable to avoid this pain. You didn't give the presentation. So for all of you that sometimes beat yourself up for not doing more and accomplishing more and being more brave, have some compassion for yourself, that we're in pain, we're wounded, and that we're acting quite normally given this wound. But the way out of it is what Pierre illuminated to. The way out of it is a secret little gift that the universe gives us, because the universe wants you to be you. That's all the universe really cares about, is that you go out and be a unique expression of the universe. So when we tell ourselves we're not enough to be loved, we stop being authentic. And when you say you're not enough to be loved, you kind of turn to the universe and God and say, hey, you messed up. And the universe and God are like, what are you talking about? We made you perfect. I made you human. I could have brought you back as a rabbit or a fish. I made you human. You're my ultimate creation. Don't trash my work. So the universe wants you to be authentic. They want you to heal this wound. So they give you a little cheat code to allow you out of this prison that we've created for yourself. And that thing is that when we're feeling the effects of not enoughness, we don't have to act. Even though we feel the fear, we don't let it win. And this little thing that the universe gives us, which is our way out, is courage. In French? And what's French for heart? Courage allows us out. So for me, when I felt not enough to be loved, what I did is I went out and I thought, okay, I feel unlovable. I want the outside world to love me. And I didn't know how. And then I was at camp and I saw these 2 girls, and one girl turned to the other girl and said, hey, I like a funny guy. And I went, I can be funny. If I'm funny enough, will I be lovable? And I spent 10 years as a comedian telling jokes in front of thousands of people, partly because it was fun, partly because I thought if I was just funny enough, some pretty girl that smells like vanilla would love me and I'd be lovable. So how many of you can recognize that there's something that you do where for me it was to be funny, for you to maybe be successful, to be accomplished, to be special, to be capable. Do you see that there's a word that you feel you almost have to do to be loved? Can you raise your hand? How many of you think you almost need to be successful to be loved a little bit? That you need money and accomplishment so people will know and love you? So here's what I want to tell you, each and every one of you right now. That belief that we're not enough to be loved, if it was true, yes, you'd have to go out and be different, be prettier, be thinner, be taller, be smarter. If you were not enough to be loved, it's true, you'd have to go out and do something so the world paid attention to you, gave you attention, if it was true. But what's the source of the lie that I told myself and you told yourself? The reason I told myself is because I didn't know it was my dad who couldn't share. He just couldn't say. How many of you have a dad or a mom who just can't say they're proud of you? That's where the love went missing, which means the belief that we made up about it's made up. Not enoughness, this belief that you're missing something, that there's something wrong with you, it's made up. It's not real. It's the effect of a childhood imagination that was scared. In reality, each and every one of you right now, without changing a single thing about yourself, is lovable and perfect as is. Can you feel that? Can you feel how life would be a little bit different if you knew you were already lovable and didn't need the outside world to approve of you to feel that? Can you understand what I want you to do right now? I want you to think of a situation that brings up this fear of rejection. I want you to think of a situation that would bring up this fear of rejection. Maybe it's to tell a partner how you really feel. Maybe it's to start a business and it's going to fail. I want each and every one of you to think of a situation that when you think of doing it and failing, it brings up that chest-tightening feeling of rejection. Okay, and I want you to amp up that feeling to about a 7 or an 8 on a scale from 1 to 10. Try and amp that feeling of rejection up to about an 8. Now, if you're at an 8 fear, you will not act. You will be out of alignment. You will not do what you're supposed to. You will not be in your purpose. You will just feed the addiction of avoiding being hurt. Now, what that's showing you is that you don't have to make the world different. You don't have to change it. If you're aware that the thing you're also afraid of isn't real, you now have power over the lie. And the more you're aware of this lie, the lie starts to dissolve. And that's what I want to impart in you, is that this lie that's in you, it's a lie. It doesn't have to be there. The second you know it's a lie, the lie starts to die. A lot of people say, well, the reason I have self-esteem issues is because my parents did something, and that's why I'm this way. No. We get confused as a kid, but the fact that the lie is still here has nothing to do with our parents, because there's a lot of lies that you get as a kid that are gone. But this not enoughness lie is still sticking around. Why? The reason it's sticking around is because every day that we make choices from this place of I'm not enough, we just retell ourselves the story. That's the reason it's here, is because all day, every day, we're mindlessly making choices based in the fact that we're not enough, which retells ourselves we're not enough. For me, when I was feeling extra not enough, it was to get these beautiful women to love me. And so I got very good at being charming and seducing women, thinking if only more beautiful women approved of me, I'd be lovable. And I get to this fancy nightclub in Mexico, and there was this very beautiful cabaret show with this lead dancer, and my ego said, her, if I can get her, I'll be lovable. That was the thing. So I get out there, and I'm on the patio, and all of a sudden this beautiful cabaret dancer starts talking to me, and I'm doing my best to be funny and charming, trying to get her to love me. And then she turns to me, and she hands me her phone number, and she says, you call me tonight. And my ego and my not enoughness was like, yes, we got her. She's going to make us feel enough. And I go into the nightclub and I see my friend and I go, guess whose phone number I've got? He said, you can't call her. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you can't call her because she's beautiful. I said, that's exactly why I'm going to call her. He said, no, you think that you're not enough to be loved, and if she sleeps with you, that's going to make you more enough. I was like, you're goddamn right. He said, exactly. If you sleep with her and you think that she is going to make you more enough to be loved, that then reinforces that you're not enough to be loved to begin with. You follow this? All you successful people that went and became successful in the name of being more enough, you constantly for the last multiple decades told yourself you're not enough to be loved to begin with. That's why you keep becoming more and more successful, but never fill it up, because by chasing, we're emptying ourselves simultaneously. Do you see the insanity? And the universe doesn't want that for you. That's why there's suffering in your life, your relationships that are struggling, your lack of alignment. That's the universe saying, stop. I'm sending you this visceral, horrible aspects of your life to wake you up that there's something beautiful about you. See, we have this belief that there's something wrong with us. But the universe is saying there's something so beautiful about you that I'm sending you suffering to waking you up to your own internal magnificence. The pain means you are lovable. Now, this is a very intense, beautiful moment. How many men here want to know whether I called her or not? I tell this story all over the world, and to me it's this beautiful story where I transcend the angel and the devil, and men always come up to me, did you call her? Did you? 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 I'm sure there were a couple people like that, hanging around Jesus. Jesus says, love thy neighbor. And the guys are like, yeah, but what about my neighbor? So I understand. Here's what I did. It was not easy. I'm sitting there with a phone number, and really I'm addicted to the approval, and I'm sitting there, and it was a real devil and angel moment. The devil was like, yeah. This is a dramatization. This is not actually how I make love. Although in French, bonjour, okay? And then the angel says, Daniel, no, you are lovable. Uphold yourself. And the devil's like, no, uphold yourself tomorrow. Fuck her, get her, do that. And the angel is saying, no, don't do it. And honest to God, it was one of the most intense experiences of my life. It was like an addict flushing his drugs down the drain. And I just sat there and I tore the number up. And I don't know what was going to happen, but all of a sudden, I felt this incredible feeling of warm love flow through my body. This almost deep self-love, divine love, universal love, it flowed through my body, and it was much more beautiful and intense than any love any pretty girl could show me. And the reason I tell you this is because it takes courage to be you. It takes courage to be in alignment. It takes courage to not let the not enoughness win. But when you do, I promise you, you will be rewarded by the universe who wants you to be you.